Hello guys, welcome back to yet another video. Welcome back to F1 with Mike. If you're new here, kindly like, subscribe. Your like helps me out with the algorithm, so it pushes my video out to so many people out there so they can see what I'm doing here. I would really appreciate it if you can like and subscribe, share with your friends who are into F1 as well. So without further ado, let's get into today's video. I'm going to be making my predictions based off preseason testing. Now, the predictions I'm making here today are based on what we have seen in preseason testing, the 2 weeks of preseason testing and the 1 week of the Barcelona shakedown. Now, one thing about Formula One is that you should know things change. Just because I am making these predictions doesn't mean that is what is going to happen exactly. Okay? So, without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to make my predictions, or I'll class the teams into three categories. I'll have the back markers, as the guys at the back, the midfield, and the big boys up there, which I'll call them the top four, like the way we have them in the Premier League, the top four. So yeah, so going with the back markers, let's start in P11 for the Constructors' Championship, because there are 11 teams this year, would have to be Aston Martin. I expected so much from Aston Martin coming into this season. They've signed Adrian Newey, the best car designer in F1 history. They have Honda-powered engines, and don't get me wrong, Honda won the last race of last season. Max Verstappen was using a Honda engine in Abu Dhabi last year. So they won the last race of the last regulations, but these are new regulations. And so far, Honda and Aston Martin have made a mess of this new rules cycle. Because for some reason, it's like they can't just get a hold of the car. It's either something electrical or something mechanical. But from the preseason testing, they've definitely been the worst team. So much for the investment of Papa Stroll. Now, I can feel for him because, honestly, putting that much money into an F1 team, the kind of investment that guy has put into Aston Martin, I would say it hurts to see him like this, especially Fernando Alonso. Fernando Alonso and Honda, it's like they're a match made in hell. There's nothing you can tell me about, except if something turns around dramatically during the season. Anytime Fernando Alonso hears about Honda engine, just run. Like, change teams. It's not it's not about you, Fernando. It's a curse. Just let it go, because there's no one that can convince me that there's a curse placed on Fernando Alonso and Honda relationship. Any relationship between Fernando Alonso and Honda, it's not just gonna work. I mean, but hopefully it changes during the season, because I really want to see Fernando Alonso win his 33rd race. Honestly, we've been waiting for more than 10 years now. So yeah, in P11, I will go with Aston Martin. In P10 is one of the new boys, which is who? Cadillac. Yes. Now, Cadillac are a new Formula One team. For sure, a new Formula One team, you expect them to be at the back. But so far, they've been doing well, even though they're coming in with Ferrari engines. So they are not having their own, engines. So they're a customer team for now while they build towards that. I know with time, I just can't remember what year in particular, they will be having their own engines in the nearest future. Probably 2027. I'm not sure. I am not sure. This is just me, because I've forgotten where I read that information from. So that being said, P10 would be Cadillac. And also they have experienced drivers, Sergio Perez, Valtteri Bottas. These are race-winning drivers. I am sure with time they can develop the car, honestly, but these are new rule sets, so you never know what will happen. But for now, I'm going to have them in P10. So those will be my back markers, Aston Martin and Cadillac. Going forward to the midfield, because right now we have a huge midfield in Formula One. 5 teams in the midfield. In P9, I'll be going with Williams. Now, this is one of the teams that have surprised me as well in the preseason testing, because they didn't make it to the shakedown in Barcelona. So, of course, they're already behind on mileage for testing the car that they've built. Also, from reports, the car is overweight. Now, for a team like Williams, coming from last season where they finished 5th in the Constructors' Championship, they were the you could say they were the top of the midfield. Right now, they're at the bottom of the midfield. And if they don't get up on top their issues early, I'm sure it's going to affect them in the constructor standings. So based off preseason testing, right now I'm just going to put Williams at P9. That being said, don't underestimate James Vowles. Don't underestimate Williams, Carlos Sainz, Alex Albon. These guys are quality, right? I expect them to make it up the ranks through the season. As long as they can bring down the weight of their car, get it to a level that is good enough for them to compete this season, I am sure Williams will do better. Also, just sometimes the quality of the driver just does the magic, you know? So that being said, P9 for Williams. In P8, I'm going to go with Audi. Now, Audi have actually the best sounding engine in Formula One right now. You can argue with your phone, I don't care. They have the best sounding engine. Maybe that is why they wanted to come in like, oh, if we're going to come in, you have to bring in all this sustainability, whatever, hybrid engines and all of that. Maybe they had their plans written down for a very long time. But I don't think that is just the only thing, but their engines really do sound amazing, and they have two good drivers on their hands. Nico Hülkenberg, very experienced. Gabriel Bortoleto, sensational driver, even though very young. But I still think they still have a lot of work to do, you know. But so far, so good. I think they've done well for themselves, given how new the project is. I think Cadillac should be like the youngest right now, if we're talking about engine manufacturers and all of it. But even Cadillac are using Ferrari, then I think should be Audi. Audi should be the next, then the Red Bull powertrains. But for now, we're gonna stick with Audi in P8 because, man, honestly, it's just the performance on track. They've put on so much mileage, and they keep learning. In fact, I think they were one of the teams that even surprised us during the first week of testing in Bahrain when they came in with a new design on their side pod. So yeah, so far so good. I think their race runs have also looked quality. So I'm looking to see good things from Audi this year. Fingers crossed they perform, because it's one thing to start where you are. You can easily drop in Formula One. Just one innovation changes everything. In P7, I'm going to be going with Racing Bulls. Now, for Racing Bulls, just like Audi, I think they had a very decent preseason testing. But also, one thing that places them above Audi for me is because of the engine, the engine manufacturer, which is the Red Bull powertrains. Honestly, kudos to the Red Bull team for building that engine. Surprisingly, it is quite reliable, and I think even the big boys in the competition are quite impressed by what Red Bull have achieved with its engine. So far, it's reliable. I think at the end of the testing and shakedown, I think I saw somewhere they had completed 2,026 laps so far, and I think that is enough mileage for preseason testing, to be honest. So hopefully they can do something, go forward. But because also during preseason testing, why I'm putting them down in this position is because they had more issues during preseason testing than the Red Bull team. So maybe there's something there they're still trying to figure out. Of course, you could say they are Red Bull Junior, and they work together. Yes, they work together, but I'm sure there's a limit to how much they can work together, right? So that being said, we'll leave it in P7 for Racing Bulls. Now in P6, I'm going to go with Alpine. Honestly, I think Alpine would be one of the big surprises of this season. And me, I am so happy because of one person, Pierre Gasly. Because I feel like that guy is one of the most underrated drivers in Formula One. And with the car Alpine have built this season, in preseason testing, they've had decent pace when it comes to the long run race runs. They're just below the big boys, you could say. That's the top four teams. So decent race pace. I can't wait to see what Pierre Gasly will do this season. Of course, Colapinto, last season wasn't so good for him, but the season before, when he was at Williams, he did something amazing. So I am looking forward to see what they can do. Of course, I have read also people that know more about this stuff, the technical side of Formula One. I'm not very technical in it. they still have few issues when it comes to understeer in the car. Once they can dial that out of the car, the sky is a starting point. Let's see what Alpine will do this season. So P6 for Alpine in the Constructors' Championship. In P5, the king of the big boys, Haas F1 team. Now, this is one team, honestly, I am very impressed by so far. I hope this carries into the season. Like, the transition is smooth from preseason testing to the season itself for Haas, because they have a beautiful car. 1, 2, they have a Ferrari engine, which is just doing amazing things for them. Oh my God. Ferrari, I'm going to get to Ferrari very soon. Don't worry. Let me not speak too much. But Haas F1 team, so far, they look locked in. They look like the team to beat in the midfield. They are the ones setting the pace for that midfield battle. So P5 for them in the Constructors' Championship. Fingers crossed though, because beginning of the last rules reg listen. Let me keep quiet, because if I start yapping now, I'm gonna just go to something else. So let's go now to the big boys. In the top 4. In P4 for the 2026 Constructors' Championship, I'm gonna be going with McLaren. Don't crucify me, okay? I know they won the Constructors' Championship last year, but that was a different set of regulations. I know they are powered by Mercedes engines. Yes. And we know the Mercedes engines are great. Yes. But based on the confessions of McLaren themselves, they have not done anything special. The car they've built right now is what they will go into the season with. So now they would start innovating, because they have less wind tunnel time based on what they see around them. They have their own ideas of what they want to work with. So they've just built a base where they can work on the car, like where they can choose the development strategy as the car as the races continue, right? So that is one thing that's why I'm putting them in 4th place at the moment. Of course, they have 2 quality drivers. They have the world champion Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, who was also in the battle for the drivers' championship last year. Now, the gap in the top 4 is really not much, because right now we don't know too much. As I said, things change in F1. I am just making these predictions based on what I think the championship will look like at the end of the season. So P4 for McLaren. In P3, I'm going to go with Red Bull Racing. Red Bull Racing P3 because honestly, I have no reason. well, I do have a reason. I honestly have the reason will probably be because they have Max Verstappen, and if you give Max Verstappen a car, he will make the best out of it. If you see, during the first week of Bahrain testing, he was the first person to be double downshifting going into turn 10. Where people take turn 10 on second gear, he was taking turn 10 on first gear. And the following day, everyone was doing the same thing, trying to copy him. So having Max Verstappen alone on your team is a huge advantage. And now they have Isaac Hadjar. Based on what Isaac Hadjar did last season, hopefully he can keep that up, and I think Red Bull have a chance. But also, we don't know where they really stand, because on the first day of testing, there was all this pointing of fingers from Red Bull to Ferrari to Mercedes on, Red Bull had 1 second of on straight line because of the energy deployment. They had a second advantage on every other team. Now, also, in the first week of preseason testing, the Red Bull car was hitting top speeds on the streets. But in the second week of testing, we never saw any of that. In fact, Max Verstappen, I don't think he ever topped the time at the end of the day. Or even Isaac Hadjar, none of them ever topped the times for the day. That was between McLaren and Ferrari, right? But let's see. We never know. It's Formula One. Some people might be sandbagging right here, because if I going into the top 2, you would understand why. In second place, I am going to go with Mercedes. Hold your horses. Yes. I am on the hype train. Yes, I am on the hype train. Mercedes P2. Now, yes, we know Mercedes have a history of sandbagging, and yes, they've set some of the fastest times as well. I think towards the end of the second week, they started focusing more on race runs rather than putting on the fastest times, right? I feel like there's more in that Mercedes. And also, there was a protest from the teams about the engine compression ratio. Of course, I'm not going to go detailed into that because I am not so good at the technical stuff, okay? I am good at the yapping stuff. So that is why you're here and that is why I'm talking about this. But hopefully with time I'll get into the technical stuff as well. But now bear with me. So Mercedes are definitely one of the teams to watch. How much of an advantage do they have? We don't know, right? But they are considered to be one of the best teams. But we will find out in Australia in 2 weeks when nobody can hide anything. We'll find out in qualifying, definitely not in free practice, but qualifying and the race, we'll find out who are the big boys and who are left behind. And in P1, I am going with Ferrari for the World Constructors Championship for the year 2026. Now, from what we've seen in preseason testing, especially on the last day, it was like they just went out there and were putting on fast times, fastest laps, especially Charles Leclerc, because Lewis Hamilton was not on track on the last day, but Leclerc was on track and he was just putting the fastest times lap after lap after lap. Now, I know Ferrari have a history of glory runs, especially last season. They will go into FP3 and they would turn up their engine to its best and they would top the times in FP3, coming to qualifying their P8, P9, P10. Better don't do that this year, Ferrari, okay? I'm on the hype train now. I'm normally not a Ferrari fan, but also, if they have a half-decent car, they have some of the best drivers on the grid. They have a 7-time world champion, Lewis Hamilton. They have one of the best qualifiers on the grid, Charles Leclerc. It's theirs to lose, to be honest. Based on the preseason testing, it's Ferrari's Constructors Championship to lose. So yeah, those are my predictions for the 2026 Constructors Championship. Let me know what you think in the comment sections. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Every feedback is welcome. So put your feedback in the comment section. Let me know your own your Constructors Championship predictions. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves. Peace out.